Hello, cheese lovers! Welcome to a cheese course where we ruminate on what we love while we eat what stinks in a good way. I'm your host, Adam J. Moskowitz. Those two hunks are my cheesemongers, Tommy and Alex, and today my guest is Hamilton Morris. Hamilton is a chemist, journalist, researcher, documentarian, and avid filmer of crystals grown and plants blossoming.
More cheese, more cheese. I love cheese, you love cheese. When two love cheese, we eat more cheese. I love cheese, more cheese, more cheese.
In the cheese business, I often get asked, what is your favorite cheese? And I hate that question. I hate that question. I'm not a cheesist. I love all cheese.
Yeah.
So I tell people it's the cheese that was in my mouth at that time.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I've asked you that.
Everybody does. So does everybody ask you, what is your favorite drug?
You had a good answer. It was the, I'm trying to remember, it was the something Mondor. The
Vacheron Mondor.
Yeah, that was it.
Alpine style cheeses are my favorite cheese, whether it's Gruyère, Hallerhocker, or Vacheron Mondor, because the way I describe it is, have you ever been to the top of a mountain?
Mm-hmm.
How'd it feel?
Good.
How do you think the cows feel?
Good.
That's why that milk is good. Do people ask you all the time, what is your favorite drug?
People ask me all the time, yeah.
And does that piss you off?
It pisses me off a little bit, but I'm also sympathetic to the question. I understand why they're asking, and I might even ask the same question. And it's not necessarily a bad question. If anything, I think I'm to blame because I don't really have a good answer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not their fault.
Okay, so I have a really important question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite drug?
I don't have one.
What's your least favorite drug?
I think alcohol has a lot of problems. It's pretty rough, drug-wise. If it weren't a quirk of yeast metabolism, I don't think it would be really a drug that people used. It's horrendously toxic.
It feels like poison.
Yeah. It's insane that is the drug, the most popular drug, when it is so unbelievably unpleasant. But I don't have a least favorite.
Want to eat some cheese?
Yes, I do.
Great.
Cheese. Let's eat cheese.
What do we got, guys?
So this is Bijou from Vermont Creamery. And what they've done, Allison Hooper wanted to take this croton style, which croton in French is a turd, because it looks like something that the horse dropped, and turn it into a Bijou, which is a really great jewel. So this is a lactic set, soft ripened goat's cheese. That uses geotrichum mold on the rind. And if you do it right, it's like this combination of like a mold and a yeast in the way that it acts. And it gets really wrinkly like a brain.
So the base layer it's a milk cookie. It's got a light, airy texture, but it looks pretty firm and stable. On top of that is a hibiscus jam. It's a very rare jam. Hibiscus is not typically used in a lot of jams because it's a lot to cultivate, but also has a lot of astringency. So the sweetness and astringency is going to help cut the fat there. On top, we have dried rose petals, as well as tulsi, which is going to be a licorice aromatic that to me really gives you some involved sweetness there in the perception, while also adding an herbal quality to it.
Cheers, bro.
Thank you.
What do you taste?
You have a bit of that acidic character, the sweetness from the jam, the mild cookie.
Yeah, that's it. It's perfect harmony. It's like it's almost like a creamy peanut butter and jam, peanut butter and jelly.
It's very good.
Speaking of turd, why does cow poop make mushrooms trippy?
It doesn't.
Oh, but that's what I was told as a kid.
Yeah. Well, psychedelic mushrooms often grow on cow dung. It's its preferred substrate. It's a coprophilic species, but that's not why it's psychedelic. It's psychedelic because the fungus biosynthesizes psilocybin. So the dung is just the food source for the fungus.
So fungus likes to eat shit.
Yeah.
What is it about the cows?
That's a question that I don't know what it is about the exact. You can use different types.
I did it. Motherfucker doesn't have an answer. Yes! It's just because cows are the shit, bro. Just that's it. That's it.
But you can do it on other animal dung. You can do rhinoceros, elephant.
We're gonna cut. Do you think that Moses was tripping his face when he spoke to the burning bush?
I mean, I've spent most of my life studying different drug phenomena that occurred in the 20th century. It's very hard to know about things that happened in the 1970s. There's like legitimate ambiguity about who the first people to make PCP or things like that were in California, in underground labs. And so when I think about how difficult it is to trace the early history of fentanyl or PCP or methamphetamine or things like that, and then hear people talking about whether or not Moses did something, it just feels hopelessly speculative to me.
100%.
Yeah.
Although relatable. Like, I've spoken to bushes before when I'm high on hallucinogens. So, and I've one time tried to have sex with a tree. So, maybe.
Let's eat cheese. Let's eat cheese.
This is unexpected.
Yeah, it looks like a sandwich, a cheese sandwich, a little bit of pickle. I think I see some ham.
But it's an inversion of the cheese sandwich. Normally it's bread with cheese in the middle, but this is cheese
with meat in the middle. Yeah. I see tyrosine crystals. You like crystals.
I do like crystals, yeah.
There's crystals in the crunchy bit, so everybody thinks it's salt.
Yeah.
That's a crystal, tyrosine.
Yeah.
And
that's interesting.
It in fact might be related to dopamine.
It is.
Oh, it is?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, let's go.
This is Le Gruyère AOP Alpage from the Chenot Chalet. This is a cooked pressed cheese that captures the true expression of the Swiss mountainside from these small herd farmers who are father and son teams who go up the mountain to get all of this fresh flora, grasses, herbs, flowers, to really enhance the flavor of the milk, as well as practicing stewardship on the land.
Today we really wanted to emphasize this alpage relationship, so taking the animals up into the high mountain pastures. And at the end of that season, when the cows come down, there's a festival called Bénichon. So Bénichon is representative of that harvest, that full year of the summer, like really cultivating those products. So we have the Gruyère alpage on the bottom, and on the top, we have the Bénichon mustard that actually we brought from Switzerland. So it's a mustard that's cooked down with some apple cider and some other ingredients to get a nice sweet, tangy pop. Then we have a sausage from Poland. It's a cabanos sausage, so it's like a hunter's sausage that's nice and soft, but also smoky and really nice and peppery. Garnish is gonna be a little cornichon pickle and dill to brighten it up a little bit.
It tastes like a ham and cheese sandwich.
Hey.
And the dill's dope.
The brightness, the grassiness, it's like the best part to balance something super savory and really rich.
What do you think? What do you guys know about dopamine and its relation to tyrosine?
The tyrosine crystal is actually formed in the cheese through the protein breakdown. So as the protein structure starts to break down in terms of like amino acids and then the protein peptide chains that are sort of to follow, the amino acid will eventually crystallize as the moisture loss is happening in a cheese. So it does happen over time. You won't have a 2-month-old cheese with tyrosine crystals. You'll have something in the 6 to 12 to 24 month range. And you can actually see it speckled in the matrix that's happening in the cheese. And it is known to be this sort of, you could say like a neurotransmitter, but then also acts with the caseinomorphins to actually have like an opiate response. So when you eat cheese, you want to eat more cheese, which is great.
What do you think about that, doctor?
Sounds good to me, yeah.
Are you familiar with the dopamine-tyrosine relation?
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you elaborate from your perspective?
Tyrosine is an amino acid that's a biosynthetic precursor for dopamine. So your body can convert tyrosine into dopamine.
Every episode has a theme. The theme of this episode is science.
Yeah.
So I expect you to use a lot of words I don't know. So cheese is a drug, then?
It is a food that contains bioactive molecules.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's a drug?
A drug would be a non-nutritive exogenous bioactive substance.
Can you say that for normal people?
Something that isn't a food Typically, although I think ethanol is an exception where it is a source of energy, nutritionally speaking, and is a drug. As you can see, it's annoying to define the term because it's like... It's
Did you just call me annoying?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
It's annoying to define the term. It's like trying to define life or something.
Or love.
Or love.
Because when you think drugs, right? Like illicit drugs, you're thinking, drugs. But like Sudafed's a drug.
Of course, yeah.
So what's a drug?
An exogenous, non-nutritive, bioactive substance.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
But then there are these exceptions. And then you have foods that contain drugs, like chocolate would be the other example, or, tetrodotoxin containing pufferfish, or arguably most foods have some kind of a drug-like effect, which is why the boundaries between these two classes are not well defined.
I think that hallucinogens especially, but possibly also MDMA, and surely lately ketamine, are all being perceived as therapeutic uses of said drugs. Do you agree?
Yeah, sometimes. I think, again, what is or is not therapeutic is not necessarily well defined.
Why is that?
If you were to say 20 years ago to a psychiatrist, I like to snort ketamine because it cures my depression, they would say, you have a substance use disorder, you have a problem, this is unacceptable, you need to get on an SSRI, this is unsustainable, this is potentially damaging to your brain, whatever. Now, this is an FDA-approved preparation for treatment-resistant depression. You can get a nasal spray of ketamine approved by the FDA. Does that mean that the people that were doing it 20 years ago were not having a therapeutic effect and it only became therapeutic when the FDA approved it? So a lot of this is dependent on the framework in which the drugs are used and how society views it. I think many of the types of drug use that could be conceptualized as non-medical or recreational actually do have medical benefit. And I think a lot of the types of use that are considered therapeutic or medical can often have a detrimental effect. So there isn't like any kind of single rule you can apply to these things.
That's deep.
Yeah.
And difficult.
Yeah.
Cheese. Let's eat cheese.
Looks like a slug sitting in some chocolate over a diamond of cheese. What do you see?
I appreciate the dusting of seemingly dry ingredients on top of cheeses. This is something that when I first saw it, I thought would be unappealing, but it's been very delicious in every instance thus far. So I don't know. I see a dry material dusted cheese diamond that has
There's some shiny.
like a cashew shaped.
It's not cashew, it's definitely a slug. What do we got, guys?
This is OG Kristal. This is a Belgian Gouda analog from our friend Freddie von Trick, who ages this out to be as crystalline as possible. So when we're talking about tyrosine, this is a really great expression of both the tyrosine and the calcium lactate coming together for that true essential crunch in an aged cheese.
And the pairing here is actually trying to mimic some of that manufacturing technology. So it is a washed curd, or all Gouda styles are a washed curd, where they're washing away lactose, but also taking away the food source for the acidifying microbes in the whey. So you actually get a perceived sweetness that's much higher than a typical cheese. The other side of that spectrum would be like a cheddar. And so for this cheese, it's very butterscotchy, has almost some of a boozy, almost cherry-like aroma to it. So we up the sweetness. We have a spiced maple cream from a small farmstead in Vermont. So you'll get a light piquant sort of tingling on your tongue. Then you have a black lava cashew. So you get a little bit of the crunch and sweetness in that little cashew bite to really mimic the tyrosine crystals going on. And to balance with a little bitterness, we have bourbon dark chocolate. So thinking of that boozy character with a little more bitters. So together, you're really gonna experience this like intense, sweet, salty crunch.
And by cashew, you mean slug, right?
The psychoactive kind.
Crunchy slug.
Psychoactive slugs. Shall we?
I appreciate all these sweet cheese combinations. This is something I never really would do on my own.
That slaps. Damn. All right, what do you taste?
Definitely a chocolatey I guess the material that was shaved onto it was a chocolate.
Yep. But the cheese is also going to kind of give you that like milk chocolatey / caramel.
Yeah, it's really good.
So good. From all your travels and experience, what do you think is the impact of prohibition?
Oh, it's been incredibly negative internationally. It's been a disaster. It's been one of the worst imaginable, preventable policy disasters in history. It's really,
Why?
it's been a failure on every imaginable level. On the most basic level, it hasn't accomplished its intended goal of preventing people from using drugs or prevented unsafe drug use practices or anything like that. If anything, it has made things far, far, far worse. And so that already would be enough. If that were the only issue is that it didn't work, that would be a reason not to do it, because it costs billions of dollars and has resulted in the ruination of hundreds of thousands or millions of lives. And it's a complicated situation because there are real problems associated with drug use. Many people experience them. 2021, over 100,000 people died of drug overdose deaths. Same thing in 2022.
If you were the Lord of the world, I'd crown you Lord of the world. What would you do differently right now?
I would legalize all drugs completely.
All of them?
Yeah, 100% all of them.
All.
Yeah, because if you don't do all of them, you just create some version of the same problem that we're currently in, where you have medically approved pharmaceutical drugs that are the good drugs and the bad drugs. And it will always end up as a problem, because who gets to decide what the good and the bad drugs are? You just have to legalize everything, focus on education so that people are in a position to use them safely to begin with. But the most important thing is that pretty much all drug-related problems are not really a product of the drugs themselves. That's, I think, what people have the most difficulty understanding, is that a person who is happy and supported in their social and professional life isn't going to want to harm themselves with drugs if they have something to live for. If you just try to eliminate the drugs, people will always find some way to either use drugs or engage in some analogously self-destructive behavior.
Self-harming or numbing agent of some sort of kind.
Yeah.
100%. And with that, would you like some more? I'm sorry to this is really.
Let's eat cheese. Let's eat.
This is Oma from Von Trapp Farmstead up in Vermont. An incredible raw milk wash drying cheese. And its production is through washing the cheese with a salt brine to discourage mold production, but encourage bacterium production, specifically Brevibacterium linens.
And the pairing we have, trying to play on your senses, change around what you might think it might be in terms of the ingredients. We have a really savory black pepper rice cracker on the bottom. The cheese itself, which has a little bit more earthy and meaty, sometimes some oceanic flavors involved. On top is a balsamic pearl. So that's gonna give you a light, bright, and also umami consistency there to cut through the fatness of the cheese. Scallion, I love a good onion on this type of like Trappist style cheese, where it's really gonna be as if you're eating the like fat of the land right there in the bite.
Suze, I like it. I like it. At first, you get like a lot of the rice cake.
That's just the texture that hopefully keeps it in your
100%.
palate. So then the olfactories get engaged and you're going full on to Flavor Town.
Yeah, once you get past first bite, you get a second and third bite, and it starts all like machinating in your mouth. That's good, right?
Yeah, it's very good.
The reason why I don't do drugs anymore is because I had a psychotic break, and the doctor told me it was due to THC toxicity. Apparently, THC is stored in your fat, and I completely lost my mind, and in fact thought I murdered somebody, and I even told my wife we had to go on the run because I murdered somebody.
And how long were you?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yep.
And did they give you an
They put me on Abilify and Seroquel, and then over time I moved to an SSRI.
I mean, cannabis can just provoke a psychotic episode, as can almost any psychoactive drug for a susceptible person. So maybe that's it. Or maybe something else. I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, the good news is here I am. Once I started taking an SSRI and I stopped taking drugs and alcohol, everything in my life got better.
Yeah. Well, that's probably true for a lot of people in general, not just you. I mean, I think a lot of people that drink and use drugs are not better for it necessarily, although it totally depends. Like, I enjoy smoking weed, but I do it pretty infrequently because I think that when I do it regularly, it starts to mess with my ability to self-regulate anger and my emotions. You start to use the cannabis as a tool for emotional self-regulation, and it, again, creates the same sort of illusion where you think, oh yeah, this stuff is so great, it's really calming me down at the end of the day. But you're also, the reason they're even dependent on it to begin with is because you've entered this cycle of emotional dysregulation potentially caused by the habitual cannabis consumption.
You said psychoactive. So like, can we talk a little bit about lexicon? Like what, like there's psychoactive, there's opiates, like are there families like hallucinogens? Like what is it, like for in the cheese world, we have like cooked press, uncooked press, we have blue cheese, we have soft ripen. Is it the same for the drug world?
Yeah, you have all these different classifications. Some of the classifications are based on a known pharmacology. Sometimes they're not based on pharmacology at all, but they are.
What's ketamine?
Ketamine, if you wanted to define it pharmacologically, it would be an NMDA antagonist.
What's MDMA?
MDMA is a serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine releasing agent.
Why is MDMA illegal? I've never seen anybody do anything bad to anybody on MDMA.
It's illegal because there was a surge in its popularity in the 1980s in dance clubs, particularly in Texas, and the DEA was threatened by it. And pretty much every expert of that era came together to fight the DEA to prevent the prohibition of MDMA. Remarkably, the DEA's own administrative law judge, after listening to the experts, concluded that MDMA should not be placed in Schedule 1. He recognized that it had medical value and that physicians should be able to prescribe it. So the DEA's own administrative law judge sided with researchers, and the DEA just ignored it.
Why?
But if you think about it from a purely consequentialist perspective, what happened? Think of how many arrests the DEA has made.
So feed the system.
Yeah.
So let's go back to you being the lord of the world. Okay?
Okay.
In the world of legalized drugs, who's the drug maker, who's the drug dealer?
Right. Well, I think what typically happens when you regulate and legalize an industry is that these sorts of fringe players are driven out of the market. So in the same way that I could make alcohol in my apartment, and it's just never going to be a dominant force in the market because you already have these large regulated suppliers of alcohol. A better example, I think, would be cannabis and synthetic cannabinoids, where you have something like the military. Like, the military was the beginning of drug urine analysis in the United States. All that was invented for the military. They really didn't want people in the military to use drugs.
Yep.
So they start testing their urine. And what does this do? Does it prevent people from using drugs? Of course not. It just forces them to use drugs that aren't being tested in their urine.
Right.
So there's a huge incentive to find any drug that they can get high on that won't show up on the test. The synthetic cannabinoids emerge on the scene, and they take off in the military first because everybody wants to get high. Same thing with people who are on probation or have occupational workplace drug testing, whatever.
If you want to get high, you're going to get high.
Yes. And so not only did people continue to get high, they used the least regulated, least toxicologically characterized,
the most dangerous, the least researched.
Yeah, yeah. So
it's like a self-fulfilling, the drug policy as it currently exists is like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes. So all that was a product of the prohibition of cannabis.
Right.
Where if you then made cannabis accessible for the people that wanted them and created some kind of reasonable regulations. Maybe you say you can't use it while you're on the job,
right,
or something like that.
You can't drive drunk.
Yeah. And if there's any evidence that your performance is impaired and you are tested and it shows that you have high levels of THC, then they can use that, I suppose, to discipline you in some way or whatever, something reasonable. But instead, what you have is a completely unregulated situation where people who didn't even want these things, like none of those people were like, oh yeah, now is my chance to use CP 47497 or whatever. Right. They were doing it because they could and because it would allow them to get high without losing their employment.
Let's eat cheese.
So we got a biscuit, we got blue cheese, and guys, I think you bled on this. You guys are are you bleeding? Are you
We're food
serving
safe.
us?
We're 100% food
We're going
safe.
full vampire.
I lost something.
Sorry, buddy. What do we get?
All right, so this is Roquefort from Jacques Carl's Caves, a raw sheep's milk, blue vein style of cheese where they inoculate the milk with the Penicillium roqueforti mold that is, for them, cultivated on the loaves of rye bread that they leave inside of the caves, traditionally as to when it was first produced.
So this pairing is indicatively French. The base layer there is actually a flattened croissant, and that has been just lightly toasted. So you get the vehicle there with a lot of buttery layered compounds there. That is gonna mimic the richness and fattiness of the cheese. All sheep's milk, aged low and slow. It's a much lower temperature than most cheeses are aged, and over a longer duration for that kind of style. That allows the cheese to develop its flavors and break down on an even trajectory and not be too rancid because of the extra fat, or too peppery from the blue mold breaking down some of the peptides there. On top, we have a little beet powder that we've dusted on there. To me, blue cheese, if it was a vegetable, it's a beet. It's got a little sweetness, a little earthiness, and it's a little bit funky and rugged. And on the other side, you can't quite tell, but there's a light glisten. That is a white port reduction. Mostly what's interesting about blue mold is it's both an adventitious mold, so it grows in spaces when it's not competing, but also it requires oxygen. So when you're spiking that blue cheese, you're not actually putting blue mold into the cheese, you're actually allowing oxygen to go into the cheese itself, and the blue mold will actually express this blue coloration, and that's a good sign when you're actually aging a blue cheese to see whether or not that blue is alive and healthy. If it has a deep blue color, slightly bluish green, it's alive, it's doing its work, and it's breaking down the cheese. If it's like pale green or like lime green or even brown, that mold is dying and suffering and needs more oxygen. This oxidized white wine of a port is really to emphasize this oxidization characteristic that's sort of in congruence with the cheese itself.
Wow.
What do you taste?
Very sharp.
Okay. Sharp.
Intense flavor.
What does sharp mean to us?
Ooh, that's
Acid or salt?
yes.
In the cheese business, we hate the word sharp.
Damn it.
Just like in your business, you hate the word ecstasy. It's MDMA or it's bulk, right?
Acidic, would that be better?
100%. Yeah.
That's what I think it is.
You one time described a drug as friendly, filthy, golden character, sort of feline.
Really?
When you describe a drug as friendly, what do you mean?
Non-threatening, non-anxiogenic, non-difficult.
So friendly is like MDMA is a friendly drug.
Yeah, for most people, it can be a little difficult during the come up, but I think
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Filthy, what does that mean? Like it's like a dirty drug? Is that like PCP?
some psychedelics will create this hyperacute visual effect where it's almost like in Ren and Stimpy, where they would do those tight shots
Yeah.
of something and you'd see all the disgusting particles on a surface.
Yeah.
And where you look at something and it has this kind of like grotesque but appealing, like hyper detailed appearance.
Golden character. Is that back to aesthetics? Like everything is kind of glowing?
I mean, this is a more poetic treatment that I probably wouldn't use to describe something now. I think it was kind of,
Why? What's wrong with poetry?
There's
What do
nothing.
you gotta get?
There's nothing wrong with it at all. In fact, it's very good.
Right.
But
I think it's great. Well, let me explain. I love the ritualistic, communal aspect of recreational drug use.
Yeah,
I also love words. A lot of times people describe cheese as creamy.
yeah.
I say, what does that taste like? And they go, creamy.
Right.
And it blows my mind because what is creamy?
Right. You want a little more. You want a little more.
First of all, that's a texture. I didn't ask you what it felt like. I said, what did it taste like? The general people, no disrespect, don't have the vocabulary.
Civilians.
The civilians don't have the vocabulary yet to discuss in a more evolved way.
Well, here's the question. Who is really right?
the world's an imperfect place and there's no right or wrong.
Because sometimes I wonder this with my own, once you get very, very deep into a subject and everything starts to matter, you're bringing so much baggage to your analysis of any phenomenon. So when I was making this LSD structural variant somewhat recently, for me, it's this huge thing of like, oh, the N6 nitrogen, it can accept a methyl, obviously, and an ethyl, and a propyl, and an allyl, but not so much a propargyl. And a butyl, you go way down. And I wonder if this fluoropropyl, like that's a pretty big substituent, but it might be right on the line. It might still retain activity. And all of those things are factored into my analysis where I'm like, wow, yeah, you can have a fluoropropyl group on the N6. Cool. But to a normal person who hasn't spent a lot of time thinking about the structure-activity relationship of lysergamides, all that is irrelevant, and they might just say, yeah, it feels like weak LSD. But are they?
So neither are wrong.
Neither are wrong, and they may even be more right.
In fact, I would argue both of you are wrong. Actually, that's oversimplified and that's overcomplex. And how can we get both of you to the middle and have a conversation where you're both impacting each other? Which is kind of what this interview has been like. Because the amount of words you've said that I had no idea you were talking about is amazing. If OxyContin was bitter, would people abuse it as much?
It is incredibly bitter.
It is?
Yeah. Pretty much all of the morphine-based opioids are extremely, extremely bitter. And this is one of the early tasks of the pharmaceutical industry, or even arguably the origin of candy, the origin of confectionaries, is preparing medicines with a sweet electuary or whatever kind of candy type medicinal preparation that would mask the bitterness of many of these natural products.
I learned about that in Mary Poppins.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we get to revisit it all. This is great.
Absolutely. So starting with the soft cheese, the Bijou, we really wanted to talk about how the yeast interacts with the cheese itself, driving pH. We have lactic set. Next cheese, the Gruyère, which is a cooked pressed cheese, which relies on a manufacturing technology to really create that texture and longevity in the aging. OG, Kristal, that is a tyrosine riddled cheese. So we're talking about crystallizations of the amino acid. Fourth cheese is going to be Oma. So it really talking about bacterial rind versus mold ripened cheeses and how you're selecting for those microbes through the environment and the way that you wash the cheese. And then the final cheese, the Roquefort, that is really talking about the intricacies of blue mold, how it requires oxygen in a sort of an oxygen deprived zone, and how it really will break down those fats and proteins to create particular flavors indicative of blue cheese.
Which one was your favorite?
I think this one was the most interesting to me, flavor-wise.
Okay.
It felt like the most complex and challenging. This one is maybe the most delicious.
I think this one was the most delicious, but then I think this one was also really, really delicious. I like sweet.
Yeah.
I think my preferred flavor profile is related to my personality, like sweet, nutty, and a little fruity. What the funk? Rapid fire questions. Best cheese to bring to a party?
I suppose maybe like a Gouda or something non-challenging that doesn't feel like it's too much of a intense. Yeah, something a little more chill.
What best cheese to put in grilled cheese?
I would make grilled cheese.
You don't?
No.
Why not? What's wrong with you?
It feels almost too decadent. I don't know that I...
The drug journalist that's done about every drug on the planet thinks grilled cheese is too decadent. Okay. Best cheese when stranded on an island?
Like, what is the most nutritionally dense cheese?
Best cheese to put on a burger? So in your intake form, you said your least favorite cheese might be a highly processed sprayed cheese or maybe a novelty cheese with embedded sweet objects. So highly processed sprayed cheese is like a deferential, like to like also like Kraft singles.
Right.
So do you eat cheeseburgers?
I do eat them, yeah. But that almost always has like an American cheese on it.
100%, because it's designed for that.
Melting, yeah.
So isn't that the best cheese to put on a burger?
I guess it is. I feel like...
I mean, I don't want to force you
I feel like if you put this on a burger, it would be very good. It would just be maybe considered a waste of such a complex. Well, I guess, well, yeah, who cares?
Bro, I already made you Lord of the World, and now we're gonna get like weird about what you're putting on your burger. That's weird, bro. You're the Lord of the World. You've legalized all drugs.
Right.
But grilled cheeses are too decadent, and you feel bad putting Roquefort on a burger.
Yeah, that could be good. I'd like to try it.
That's the fun. I want to eat a burger with that Roquefort
me too.
specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, if you were a cheese, what would you be and why?
Who is able to answer these questions?
Everybody's been able to answer the
Do
question.
they have like on hand, they have a cheese that they identify with?
Most of them, yeah.
Damn. I feel like I'm sort of limited in the cheeses that I buy. I'm pretty Gouda oriented for the most part. And, you know, like I was gonna make chilaquiles and I was getting the Oaxaca cheese, but I don't know if I identify with that. It's good. I like mozzarella. I don't know what I identify with.
Oaxaca's, no.
Yeah.
And Oaxaca sounds like ayahuasca, and
There you go, yeah.
there you go. So I'm gonna go with Oaxaca for you.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
You know how they say that we can only access 20% of our brain? This lets you access all of it.
Can you make that drug for me?
They don't identify a specific molecular structure in the movie, so there is no real drug, but there's, there's nootropics.
More specifically, normal people, are we using the entire functionality of our brain?
Yes.
Oh. And that's our episode. That's our episode. You have an incredible podcast on Patreon that I want to encourage people to go check out. You're also an incredible writer. There's a ton of stuff you can find that he's written about, like especially the Pollock?
Pollock, yeah.
That's what I said. Go find that article. It's really good. What's the name of that article?
Bloodspore.
Bloodspore about Pollock. Is there anything else you'd like to promote?
Yeah, I'm working on some new documentaries about the chemistry of psychedelics that will go on my YouTube channel and on Patreon, and that's the main thing that I'm working on at the moment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to watch that.
Yeah.
Very grateful for your time and attention here today.
I'm grateful to be here.
The most important thing, always remember, eat more cheese, please.
Let's eat cheese. I love cheese. You love cheese. Let's eat cheese. I love cheese. I love cheese. You love cheese. Let's eat cheese. Let's eat cheese.